Hey, what is happening, my fearless networking friend? You're about to listen to an incredible interview with my friend David Ross out of the United Kingdom, who has over 280,000 customers, 25,000 team members. He's been in the network marketing space since 2009, and we're going to dig in and talk about exactly how he's built that big of a business. So stay tuned. Here we go. All right, what's up, my friends? Todd Falcone here, and back again with, this is going to be a fun one. What's up, David? How you doing, man?
What's up, Todd? Thanks for having me. Super excited to be giving some value this evening.
Bro, it's been so long since I've seen you in person. We finally had a little catch up the other day, and always got along with you when I saw you coming to the States. But just do like kind of a quick introduction for the folks that are watching or listening. So with me today is David Ross. He's out of the UK, network marketer. He's been in network marketing since I think right around 2009, so about 15 years. Like 281,000 customers, 25,000 team members. You guys just pause on that one for a second. Like in his organization, 281,000 customers, 25,000 team members, and he's been at it for about 15 years. So that's just a quick little, he and I are going to dig in today. We're going to have some fun, but brother, man, what's up? Good to see you.
Good to see you, my man. How have you been?
I've been well. I've been super well. Just having a blast, grabbing folks like yourself, and you and I were well overdue for a catch up. So it was super nice to.
Yeah, I was actually. Sorry, I had to interrupt you. I was actually trying to think back to the last time you and me were together, and I think it was GoPro 2014 when you were over in the UK speaking at that event. Do you remember? And we hung out.
Yeah.
I took you to Bill's in the Trafford Centre, and I got you an English breakfast. That was the last time you were. Yeah.
And I remember the pudding.
And
Yes.
And I remember the first time that you and me actually met, and I actually wanted to share this story because obviously I know you're going to have a lot of your listeners obviously listening this evening. So just a bit of kudos to you, Todd. I actually remember 2014 was before you actually came over to the UK. I'd actually been over to Vegas because Eric Worre had asked me to speak at the six-figure summit at the Mirage, and that was my first introduction to the world stage when it came to network marketing. And I remember feeling a little bit lost, a little bit like a lost sheep. And the first person to come over and introduce himself to me was you. And I remember that like it was yesterday. And I'll never, and I will never forget that. I'll never forget how special he made me feel as well. Because it was scary being at one of these events for the first time. You came over, you introduced yourself, you hung out with me. I kind of told you I was there by myself. And I just remember how good you were to me. It was awesome, man. Always appreciate that.
Brother, I will wholeheartedly take that compliment. I mean, it's just who I am. I love getting that compliment. It's interesting because I've had now 3 people who kind of said the same thing to me about like just how I am in a public setting. Like in this case, GoPro. I had my friend Andrew out of South Africa. I did the same thing with, and then a woman that I've done a bunch of gigs for. She said she was watching me, and she goes, he was like the only guy that was like roaming around, like, she knew I was one of the speakers, and all the other speakers were
being a handsome man like you are, that would have helped.
It was funny, I took my hair from up here and I moved it down here. So
is that what happened? You turned upside down.
Yeah, I just flopped it. I flopped it. So, but no, man, I appreciate that. I always enjoyed hanging with you, and like I said, it's been too long, but yeah, I want to dig in because, first of all, obviously you guys are catching his accent. He's out of the UK. The company that he represents is, I think, you guys are in the UK exclusively. Is that right?
We're exclusively in the UK. Yeah. So we're a FTSE PLC. So we're on the London Stock Exchange, but we are exclusively a UK company. Yeah.
So I asked you this the other day when we were catching up, but I don't remember the numbers. Like what is the population of the UK?
Oh gosh, now you're asking, and I should know this because a lot of my team will probably end up listening to this podcast and they will probably correct me. So I should bring up AI really.
Approximately.
I should bring up AI really quickly. I think it's about 62 million, I
Okay.
think.
Okay. I bring that up just because, like, okay, so the US, and I'm sure somebody's gonna correct me too. It's 330 million, give or take, right? So that's just the United States of America. So obviously, geographically, it's much larger than the United Kingdom. But so you've built this business. I bring that up because 280,000 plus customers, 25,000 team members, and he's not in a global company. I mean, they are in the UK. So, folks that are like, oh, we're saturated or something, which I think is kind of always funny when, I don't think there's any network marketing company anywhere ever that's actually reached like legit market saturation. Maybe from a name recognition standpoint, the one and only company that everybody can probably remember is Amway.
Mm.
But to even say that that company is like saturated isn't even an accurate term. So,
It's,
yeah, I just find that interesting.
it's a common question when we get new distributors joining the business, and people don't actually realize that, as a company, we still only have 3% of the entire marketplace in the UK. So that's kind of 97% left. Just to kind of translate that without going into too much detail, if you were to go down the average neighborhood in the UK, you know, 3 homes out of every 100 would subscribe to the services that we offer. So
Yeah,
that
and real quick, just I kind of roll a little bit differently. Like this whole idea of hiding. Like anybody who wants to figure out who somebody is, they're going to Google and figure out who you are, what company you're with. But the
true.
company that represents markets utilities. So, and is it electric and gas or just electric? I
Yeah,
can't remember.
essential services. So broadband, telephony, landline. Well, it will be landline until next year when that goes. Gas and electric, and mobile
Okay.
telephony as well. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So I actually have a kind of curious opening question for you. So you started in '09, which was kind of in the middle of our global recession, right? That's when the crap hit the fan, so to speak. And I'm pretty confident that it wasn't just a US situation. I think, globally it was pretty bad.
Mm.
Like, what was that like, starting in '09, in the middle of probably one of the biggest recessions I can recall in my entire life?
Well, the recession was kind of half the reason for me starting in network marketing. But at the end of the day, I kind of owe most of my journey to my folks. I was really lucky to grow up in a network marketing household. I kind of grew up during the golden era of network marketing. My parents built four very success got to the top and built four very successful network marketing businesses. And from kind of the age of 11 to kind of 20, 30, 25, 30, that whole journey of me watching them do that, it was very much famine and feast, because they would build these huge organizations, shit would hit the fan, companies would get closed down, they'd open up another one, get to the top of that business, something would happen, that company would end up closing down because something happened in that country, then they'd pull people across and start another one, get to the top of that. So it's kind of famine feast, poor rich, and that kind of imparted quite a lot onto me as a young person, just watching that experience and watching how hard they grafted. I mean, with all due respect to networkers today, I mean, when I watched they worked 24/7 for the first 7 years. Their house was packed with people nearly every other night, and that's how it was done back then, Todd. That's how it was done. Um, so I think I did learn, even though network marketing wasn't my first stop in the kind of career and business ladder, it did teach me. It did teach me a lot. getting to experience that. You know, my friends thought that my family was crazy because all their folks had regular jobs. So yeah, so I had an interesting childhood, but yeah, it's definitely down to the experience of watching the success of my parents. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, obviously the experience was, positive enough, even with the ups and the downs, that you're like, hey, I'm gonna end up, coming over here. At what point? So obviously in 2009, you started that
Yeah.
journey. Did they recruit you? I mean, that's because this is, I don't think I've ever spoken to anybody that I've interviewed where it's like, yeah, no, I basically grew up in a network marketing household. So uh,
So
it wasn't like it
what
wasn't some
happened?
stranger that recruited you. It was they recruited you, right?
Yeah, well, I'll let me reveal. I actually, my first stop was in teaching. I always wanted to kind of teach. I studied theatre and performing arts. I was into the whole drama and acting, and and people often say that when I'm speaking at events, they can kind of tell that I have a little bit of a theatre background because that was always my passion. So I got into teaching. I taught up to college level, loved it, had a really successful career as a teacher. Um, some stuff happened which kind of made me reconsider my future career in the education system. So I came out of the education system, teaching college kids, to actually set up my own school. So I came out of that, went straight into setting up my own business, which was essentially a performing arts school for young children and a talent agency. Um, that did really well. So well, in fact, that I actually decided to franchise it. I decided to open up a number of schools around the UK, giving opportunities to other drama teachers who perhaps weren't happy working in a conventional school. They wanted to come out of the teaching environment and set up their own private academies, their own business, so to speak. So essentially, what I was doing wasn't that dissimilar to network marketing. People would invest in my business and I would help them get started and help them get their initial investment back and help them get into profit quickly, which is what we do as network marketing distributors. But to what you were saying, when the recession hit in 2009, that kind of wiped out that business because nobody had £10,000 at a time to invest in the franchise opportunity that I was marketing. Fortunately, I was still making money because the schools themselves were still running. So, even in a recession, parents would still pay for their children to have classes because that's what parents do. So I was still making some money, but essentially, I got into a little bit of a rut, bit of a depression because my business had stagnated. It was no longer growing. And we all know that progression is happiness. And it was actually my folks that said to me, look, you need to do this. You've got the skills. Why don't you come on board? They pretty much at that point sort of semi-retired, although they were still kind of building the business. And yeah, they invited me to kind of join their company. They told me that I should get involved. It makes sense because it's a service-based business. It was in fact recession proof. And again, going back to what you said about the recession, that was the hook for me because I never wanted to be in a situation again where I'd created something and because there was a massive shift in the market or a recession, it would just kind of wipe that out overnight, which we often see with businesses. So yeah, that's why I decided to get started. And
So
just like everyone else, I brought all my my mental successes and failures over to my network marketing business with me. I brought all that mental baggage over with me in the beginning, so yeah, it wasn't easy.
well, no, and it's just really interesting because you grew up in this household, right? I mean, I did. I grew up in a broke household. My parents got divorced, and my mom married my stepdad, and he was successful. Interestingly enough, this is like I'm going to ask you kind of kind of an interesting question in terms of like acceptance. My my first 2 years I failed in network marketing. I ran out of money. My mom thought I was in a scam, so I had to now move home and live in the bunk beds at the parents' house. I took a job as an account executive at their radio station, and I was coming in as the owner's son, right?
Wow.
So, all the AEs, the account executives, were kind of looking at me like, "Oh yeah, what's this kid gonna do? Is he gonna come in and like, they're gonna steal accounts from me, or is he gonna sit on his butt and do nothing?" Like the owner's kid. So I'm curious because I know your parents, and like they're well-known figures, very successful figures in the network marketing space. So, like, did you get like coming in kind of like as not the owner's son, but like, their son, like coming in, like, was that, were you immediately, I know this is a different environment, like this is a self-employed environment versus me coming in as an
It
employee
was hard.
there.
Yeah,
But
really hard, really hard, really,
yeah,
really.
I bet.
Yeah, and it's still there a little bit today. Um,
Really?
a little bit, a little bit, because at the end of the day, Todd, you and me, we are in industries where anyone can be hired and no one can be fired. It's a huge melting pot of emotion. And as Eric Worre says, it's not it is the best form of entrepreneurship, having a direct sales and network marketing business. It makes sense. Okay, it is the best way for the average entrepreneur, but it's not perfect. Like any institution, we have greed, we have jealousy, we have envy, we have all those horrible emotions, but we have it in mass numbers in network marketing because there's so many thousands of people. So, it's not been without its difficulties, but it's an
Yeah.
incredible business that's given me an incredible life at the same time.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm curious, so '09 to now 15 years, how like how do you feel like things have changed over the past several years in the space?
Well, I think, that's a great starting point. And I think, look, I think the real question that we need to ask ourselves, is how, when you say how things have changed, I think what we need to look at is how people have changed their approach towards decision making, particularly when it comes to the idea of running a home-based business. Now, one of my favorite quotes in the world is that the skills that get you out of Egypt are not the skills that get you to the promised land. And I will explain that to you. And the reality is that simply understanding your products, your services, and how your business opportunity works is no longer going to be enough. As network marketers or direct sales professionals, whatever we want to call ourselves nowadays, it seems to change regularly. We need to get better at understanding people. If we can understand how people think, how they behave, how they make decisions, our methods will naturally improve. So really what we need to do is we need to keep pace with how people are changing their buying patterns and decision making processes. So I'll give you three examples of how the current environment has changed how people make decisions. Take the COVID pandemic. Okay, so the past attitude before the pandemic, traditional office jobs and professions were seen as the gold standard for employment. Okay, the gig economy and the home-based businesses were often considered less stable, less desirable, or even somewhat shady places where making a decent income seemed unlikely. But the current attitude, if you look at it now, is that the pandemic has drastically accelerated the acceptance of remote work. It's highlighted the benefits of flexible work arrangements. Many people who lost traditional jobs during the pandemic actually turned to the gig economy. They actually turned to our industry out of necessity. So, this shift demonstrated the resilience and viability of the network marketing direct sales model, which I think has led to a much more positive view of this economy that we're in, the idea of the home-based business. Before the pandemic in the UK, only 1 in 20 people were making money from alternative sources. Now that number's jumped, to 1 in 3.
Wow.
And also the second thing is we've seen a significant cultural shift towards entrepreneurship. if you look at the past attitude of entrepreneurship, it was traditionally seen as a high-risk endeavor, often reserved for those with resources or connections. Home-based businesses in particular, they were viewed as less serious forms of entrepreneurship. Current attitude today, we celebrate entrepreneurship, self-employment. Platforms like Spotify and Amazon and Fiverr have made it easier for anybody to start a business or offer services from home. And then finally, the third major shift has been technology. If you go back several years, the technological infrastructure to support widespread kind of gig work and working from home and remote work, it was very limited. That lack of technology contributed to the perception that these were kind of unscalable, unsustainable options. But now, with high-speed internet and smartphones and online platforms like WhatsApp and live broadcasting and Zoom, it's made it easier to start and run a home-based business and participate in the gig economy. So that's this shift means that how people are making decisions today, it's more important than ever.
Yeah, and you've got in terms of like utilizing technology, like I think we were talking, you've got Facebook Lives that have got in excess of like 10 million organic views, which is
Over the years.
insane.
Yeah.
But I mean that's big numbers, man.
Yeah. No, I'm proud of
So
it.
so like this whole idea of like capturing somebody's attention, and we've had discussions about the concept of like attention marketing. What is that, and what do you mean by I've heard the term that's been thrown around for several years is attraction marketing, but like attention marketing, like why is that so important today given where we are as an industry or a profession?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk about when we talk about attention marketing, we're really addressing the core challenge of today's digital age, cutting through the noise. And the marketplace is more crowded than ever, with its countless businesses vying for the same audience's attention. People are bombarded, including you and including me, with information from all directions: email, social media, advertisements. It goes on and on and on and on in this environment. So it's not enough anymore to simply have a great product or service. If nobody notices it, it doesn't matter how good it is or how good you think it is. Attention marketing is about understanding that the first battle isn't for somebody's wallet or their subscription or membership or even to get them to take action. Yeah, it's the first port of call is get their focus, you get their attention. You need to capture their interest long before they make any sort of purchasing decision. Now, this requires not just being present and deploying yourself in the places where your audience spends the most time, but you also have to stand out in a way that grabs their attention and makes them want to learn more about what you're offering. So without winning that initial attention, even the best products or services can go unnoticed.
Yeah, and I think we've all seen like you could have the greatest product. I mean, it could cure whatever, and it sells nothing. And then you could have some mediocre crap product that just because somebody was able to capture the individuals or the group's attention, they go out and do millions and millions of dollars in sales. So this whole idea of gaining attention, like the efficiency in gaining attention. I mean, that's you mentioned like the importance of like capturing the attention. Like how does that play into your strategy? Like what? I mean, can you
Well,
give me some specifics?
yeah, well, I mean, efficiency is absolutely critical, Todd. In business, time is our most valuable resource, and how we allocate it can give a significant impact on our success. So, if you take content creation, for example, okay, something that people like you and me, or people involved in our industry, spend a lot of time doing. We spend a lot of time creating content, whether it's an invitation script, it's a broadcast, it's a post, it's a call to action for the team, email, we spend so much time creating content. Now, I see people, and I still see them doing it today, spending 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever, crafting a single piece of content only to see it garner a few engagements, maybe a couple of likes or comments. So that's a lot of effort for very little return. And to give you an example, I can leverage AI. I can generate, okay, a really well-tailored email set sequence, okay, with hooks and calls to action. I can do that in a matter of seconds, and I can send that to a large audience. I can send that out to my email audience, because I still believe email marketing gives you the best reach. I know a lot of people don't agree, but I think it does. Okay. So I can get 9,000 people opening my emails and reading some of the emails that I've created using AI. And I can do that in a matter of seconds. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is that it's not just about the amount of time you spend on a piece of content, it's about the effectiveness and the reach of that content and the tools that you're using to do that. AI tools can really help you optimize your time and effort, allowing you to focus on high impact activities that often yield better results. So, the reality is, in today's fast-paced world, efficiency isn't just nice to have. It's a necessity. The more efficiently you can create and distribute content that catches attention, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, the more successful you're going to be in reaching and engaging your audience.
So I'm curious, and just so you guys know, like this is like not, and you already know this because those of you that are watching, if you've watched the last 6 or 7 of these are unscripted. We haven't had no discussion about like what we're going to talk about. Like, and I don't know this, I'm curious. Like I use AI, I'm happy to share what I use, but like when it comes to content creation, gaining somebody's attention, being, making yourself more efficient in doing so, like, I'm in my mind as you're talking about it, like sitting there, because I've written, I don't even, far too many email campaigns over the years to even try to calculate. And I mean, there have been times where I've spent days, literally days of like sitting down and writing some type of like 15 sequence email campaign. And it's taken me days and days to do it. With AI, I mean, you can get it done almost literally within seconds. What particular AI tools do you use for content creation and in your business?
I use Chat GPT.
Yeah.
The real trick to AI isn't the AI itself, it's the commands you give it. You don't have to really learn about AI. You actually have to have self-awareness in the commands that you're giving AI to arrive at the content that you want. Because at the end of the day, AI is still very linear, Todd. It's still, at the end of the day, just pulling information off the internet and organizing it. So if you really want to create some emotion behind what you're doing and connect in a meaningful way with your audience, then really you want to get good at understanding what you want AI to do in terms of the emotions you want it to evoke onto your audience.
Okay, so I got to ask you this, because I'm sure there's a lot of people here that either aren't currently using AI or definitely let just on ChatGPT, for example. And I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of like what you're asking it to do. So can you give an example of what you mean, like a good command versus one that's not really gonna produce
Okay, so
what it is
so
you're looking for?
I'll give you an example. One of the things I like to use AI for is to respond to certain emails or messages that I receive that I probably need to stop and think about. You know how we can sometimes be reactive when we get certain
Yeah.
messages or emails from
Yes.
people, and we always say, don't react straight away, mull it over,
Yeah.
because
Take a breath.
it's very, very easy to blast something out. So rather than just saying respond to this or create a reply, okay, which is very effective, okay, how about reply to this with empathy and understanding while educating the individual who's writing to you?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you're not just replying to somebody's rude, harsh, condescending, or patronizing message, you're actually replying to them in a way that educates them. Okay, so it explains to them why these things are happening. Okay, one of the best things you can do to someone who's hostile is educate them on why the problem is happening. And then if you can show empathy and understanding, then that can often kind of douse any negative feelings people have towards you. So that's what I mean when I say get good at understanding the commands. You know, a big mistake people make when they're using AI is they'll just give a linear command. Create a sales email to get people to this event. Reply to this email.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes, Todd, I've had to give 20 commands to get to where I want.
Yeah. I mean, and I've learned, like, at first, this is such a great direction that we're going in, because AI is going to help you capture more attention, be way more efficient in terms of like pumping out content. Like I did a prompt the other day with something, and in milliseconds, it was just, there's literally 30 days worth of content. And it has everything to do with like what you're saying. Like even like my tone of voice, like I speak in a particular tone.
Mm.
And if I'm writing a letter, I'm saying, okay, I'm describing how people know me as blunt, direct, kind of in your face, straight talking, real, like that, I tell it like it is, with a little bit of humor layered in there.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how it'll pump out a letter that's really sounds like me. Sometimes sometimes it's a little off, but then I give it, okay, maybe not. I didn't tell you to tell jokes. I said humor, slight humor, but it's so interesting. Like that to me is where, in fact, I'm curious, like, what do you feel twofold? Number one, what do you feel is the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to garner somebody's attention? And then B, I'll add a little secondary question to that is, what do you feel is the biggest mistake that people are making? And maybe you've already answered it when it comes to utilizing AI to create content for them.
Well, I think, all right, let's tackle the first question in terms of the biggest mistakes that people make. I think people often chase the wrong kind of attention, if that makes sense. So, and I'm talking particularly about social media here, because that's really where, let's be real, that's where our captive audience is. Okay. So there's a huge temptation to focus on flashy content, things that might go viral, catchy videos, trendy posts, people arse wiggling and flossing and snorting jelly through a straw, all that crap, and while these things might generate a lot of views or likes, they don't always translate into meaningful engagement, or more importantly, sales. For instance, a business owner might spend a lot of time creating a video hoping it goes viral, but if that video doesn't connect with the specific needs or concerns of their target audience, and I see this a lot when I'm scrolling through my newsfeed, I see a lot of people from various different companies doing these videos. They can't even put on a meaningful title to attract people to watch, which is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Getting that title wrong, that changes everything. Okay. But I mean, we can talk about that a little bit later, but if that video doesn't connect with the specific needs or concerns or worries of the target audience, it's not going to convert those views into customers. What good's a million views if they don't lead to any real business growth? Instead, I would, we can talk about social media weekly structures and the types of content that you should be posting. But what I would suggest, is focus on often, not always, focus on simplicity and directness. You don't need to spend hours on a big, stupid, elaborate post. Maybe spend 30 seconds crafting a question that resonates with your audience, and their current challenges. You can say to someone, look, would an extra couple of $1,000 or a couple of thousand months, can't get my words out tonight, a couple of thousand months, nobody wants to spend that long doing it. Would an extra $2,000 Would an extra $2,000 or would an extra £2,000 this month, help you through the cost of living crisis? Or would you like to earn an extra £1,000 or $1,000 this month by helping friends and family and people you know through the cost of living crisis? Or is anyone in your family suffering from anxiety or sleep deprivation? I'd love to know. Are you worried about? Do you have any concerns about? I would love to hear from you. Have you? Do you? Are you? These types of questions, particularly for your conversion posts, which again, it's something we can discuss, these are powerful because they speak directly to the issues that your audience is facing right now. They grab attention because they're relevant and offer a potential solution to a pressing problem. So by focusing on what your audience really cares about rather than trying to be flashy, I think that's the mistake that people need to correct. I think you're going to be more likely to capture the kind of attention that leads to real engagement and business results. With respect of AI, the biggest mistake, well, that's a tough one because I actually don't know a lot of people who are using AI correctly. Again, I would say the biggest mistake people are making with AI is they're relying too much on the answer that AI gives it without understanding how to command AI to get to the piece of content that you really want. So, AI is progressive, which means if you are using it regularly, it will start to pick up. If you're regularly using ChatGPT, it will start to pick up on your language and the way that you speak. And it is progressive like that. But you can't be lazy with it. You can't just say, write me a sales email to my team to get them to do that. Go. Because you're going to get yourself into an awful mess, Todd.
It's like I was thinking about it. You're pushing out content, and for some reason I thought about some stupid cat video. Okay, nothing wrong with cats, but like somebody throws out a cat video because it's like, I'm going to try to get bazillion views on it. But then how does that exactly attach to your, now, if you're selling cat products, that would be one thing. I don't know anybody who's selling cat products in network marketing, but they're just trying to get the attention, but you're trying to get the attention of your target audience. So like, as an example, one of the things that I'll always do is I'll feed for example, ChatGPT, my target audience are, so in your case, my target audience are, for me, it's my target audience are network marketers who are hungry to understand and learn how to be effective and how to be profitable in a network marketing business. I teach network marketing for a living. What are the biggest pain points and problems that keep these people staring at the ceiling all night? What are some of their biggest worries? And it'll help you identify. So some of you guys that are, just beginning to use AI, I think for me, the word is specificity. It's like, if you're lacking specificity and lacking clarity with the prompts that you're giving, just like you said, hey, write an email that motivates my team. I'm going to have to do that when we get done here and be like, hey, can you write an email that motivates these people to buy this product? I'm sure it'll just be some crap answer, right? So,
and they'll know, your team will know, people will know. The more commands you give it, the more of you is embedded into the content. And it needs to be you at the heart of that email or that message. And that will only happen if you learn how to give it the commands that you want to give it, the emotion that you want to evoke. That's the only way. You've got to learn.
No doubt.
You got to learn how to command it.
And you said something really important. It's like the more you use it, like I have the paid version. I don't know what it costs me, like $20 a month or something like that, which is always gives you like the most current version. And because I've used it so repeatedly, like I'll even test it every once in a while, and I'll go in there. I'm like, hey, this is Todd Falcone. Do you remember who I am? And they're like, yeah, of course, you're blah, blah, blah. It'll come up with this very descriptive paragraph of who I'm at. I'm like, great. Do you recall the tone of voice that my audience is accustomed to me speaking in? And then it fires back in this, I'm like, okay, cool. So it actually has some, I don't know how
it's learning. It's learning about you. It's progressive. It's learning.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. It is, but you can't be lazy with it. And I think my concern is it's like anything, isn't it? You know, WhatsApp and Facebook turned people into lazy promoters. You know, I think AI runs the risk of turning people into lazy content creators. So I
Yeah, and
think,
real quick, speaking of like we've mentioned social media, we've mentioned Facebook, but there's obviously different platforms. Like, so what can you give examples of like how different social media platforms perform for you personally in terms of reach, whether it's
yeah,
Twitter X or Facebook or Instagram or
yeah.
TikTok or whatever it might be?
I'm really glad you asked this actually because it's a subject that I'm really interested in and I've been studying it for a long time and it's something I actually do try and drill into my own team because I'm always talking to them about reach. Stop focusing on how many hearts and eggplants you get. Start focusing on reach. Yeah,
Yeah.
reach. Um, and you know the thing is you take let's start with the most basic platform where I think most people in our industry spend their time. Yeah. And I think that's probably something like Facebook groups and Facebook pages. Yeah. They're probably the
Yeah.
average network marketer deploys themselves in that space. Okay. Now, Facebook's algorithm is notoriously tricky. Okay. I mean, only about 3 to 5%, if you are lucky, will you actually reach, will actually see a post you make. So let's say, for argument's sake, we'll use a model of 1,000 for this demonstration. So if you have 1,000 followers, 1,000 friends, whatever, okay, you make a post. If you're lucky, 50 people may see that post. If you're lucky, it'll probably be more like 30. Okay. Now, I'm not saying they're going to engage. That's reach. That's what reach is. Reach isn't engagement.
Yeah.
Reach and engagement are completely separate. And I think that confuses a lot of people. And that's why relying solely on organic Facebook posts isn't the most effective strategy if you're looking to reach a broad audience. Obviously, we are still using social media because we do have a captive audience. So we can reach. So, for example, Todd, we could reach more people on social media than we can if we walk out our front door and say something. Yeah. So in terms of that, you know, it is effective, but it is only a very, very, very small reach. Let's take another tool where network marketers spend a lot of their time. WhatsApp chat groups. Okay. Now here you might see a slightly better reach, maybe 5 to 10%. So let's say, and most people don't, let's say you've got your team, you know, let's say again 1,000 people. Some of you listening this evening might have 200, 150, some whatever, but let's just use 1,000 because it's an easy number to use. Okay. Now, if you're lucky, okay, if you start a chat with a piece of content or important information, if you're lucky, between 5 and 10% will get that initial message because it's a chat. Everything gets buried. So if you've got 1,000 people in your team, but then only 50 see that initial discussion, but even that 50 is getting diluted. Again, that's a really, really poor reach. Okay. Now, you take email marketing. Let's say you've got 1,000 subscribers. Okay. I think I've got 30,000 subscribers. Okay. And I think I've got 5,000 subscribers from my prospects list, and from the team, there's about 30,000 people. Okay. Now, email marketing is a completely lost art form, Todd. I know you're brilliant at it. I love it, but it's a completely lost art form, and it shouldn't be, because it's one of the more reliable methods. You know, with an open rate, if you're getting good, of 30 to 40%. I've had 50% open reach before, which is phenomenal. It's certainly phenomenal if you've got 30,000 subscribers. Now, if you've got 1,000 team members and you've got all their email addresses, all of a sudden you could be reaching 500 of your team. So email marketing has much better reach than the other two digital marketing tools that we're talking about. And that's why building a... Sorry, Todd, go on.
I just find it interesting. Like, you're bringing up something that's such a super critical topic. And right now we're kind of dialed in on communicating with the team. And, Facebook groups, for example. I got a secondary question that's on my mind that I want to ask you in a second, but we need to be able to communicate with our organizations. And if you're relying on Facebook, your Facebook group, for example, you're getting minuscule reach to your audience of your team members. And here's a mistake that I've seen so many people make, and I've been like screaming from the rooftops for years about this, is like, and Russell Brunson talks about this. He talks about, traffic that you control and traffic that you own. And just so anybody here who's newer to marketing or online marketing, basically, like, I can guide my audience within a Facebook group to go look at this thing that I wrote, right? Whatever it is, like it's an image, a video. So that's traffic that I can control, by putting something there, even though the truth is it's a really big lack of control because the reach is so infinitesimally small. But traffic that you own, meaning, okay, I have access to the email address. I have access to their cell phone number if I wanted to SMS, text message them, for example, which you can't, if you're not collecting that data. So clearly, I know I don't even have to ask this question, but I'm going to. You have some methodology in place that has enabled you to capture the email addresses of at least 30,000 people on your team. So I know you have that, so I don't need to ask that question. My question is, how have you gone about collecting that data? Because you're probably not getting it straight off of a genealogy report. You probably had to have them opt into something. So I'm curious, is there a specific method that you use to make sure that you're getting people to be on your list, to make sure that they're getting regular updates?
Yeah, I use Zapier. They join my information. They join my business. Their information, their email address goes into spreadsheet that's imported into Aweber, and they get a welcome letter. Welcome to the team.
Yeah, I use Zapier as well for years. Yeah,
not difficult. It's cheap as chips. It's cheap as chips to run an online business like ours and market thousands of people. Cheap as chips. ChatGPT, 20 quid a month. Aweber, 40 or 50 quid a month. That's pretty much it. Facebook's free. WhatsApp's pretty much free. Zoom is inexpensive. You're talking, very little money to market. Very little money. When you consider what a lot of companies, have to spend. If you understand if you understand, particularly when you learn how to use these tools together, which I'll get, hopefully I'll get a chance to talk about a bit later. But email marketing, it's not difficult to get, and it's the same with your prospects or potential customers. If you're doing lead generation or you're speaking to people, say, look, I'd like to keep you in the loop. Here's my link to my landing page. I'll just keep, I'll keep you updated with the products and services and what's going on in the business. Is that okay? A lot of people, won't have a problem with that. Some will, but if you're doing that over the years, then you're going to build a big list of potential prospects and customers you can keep remarketing to, and hopefully one day you'll deploy yourself in front of them when they're at that point, when they're ready to take further action. It's that simple.
So I'm curious to know, like, your thoughts. Like, obviously, in any of the social media outlets, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever, they're all now are so much different than they were back in, like, when you started in 2009, and when I can't even remember what year Facebook started, but I've been around Facebook since the beginning. I mean, I would do a post. I posted the word bacon, literally the word bacon, and it had, like, I don't know how many shares, comments. Like, it was a single word. It was the stupidest post I ever did. One word, bacon, and it was like the landslide of activity. I tested that again, like, years later. It might have been like 4 years ago, and I just wrote the word bacon, and it was, I'm not gonna say it was crickets, but it was pretty close to crickets. It was like 17 likes, a handful of comments. So is there a way to overcome other than, what we've kind of been discussing, this idea of like, okay, making sure you're developing a list, is there a way to overcome these algorithmic issues that many people are facing so that I can get a higher degree of reach, even though it's like we got to play let's, like, on Facebook, for example. Okay, take out everything for a second. Facebook's the only thing that exists. They're not allowing our posts to our audience that have voluntarily connected with us. They want to be connected with us to see our stuff. Is there a way for us to bust through the algorithm and be able to have a higher percentage reach organically than would normally occur if you're just kind of cruising along?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. The current landscape certainly presents challenges. And I think, just to give you guys a bit of backstory, because I always believe in education and understanding, with the tightening of regulation and unpredictable natures of social media algorithms and all sorts of stuff going on, and the problems in the global the problems that we're seeing throughout the world at the moment, the governments are actually tightening up on companies like Meta and saying, look, people shouldn't be talking about this. We're being silenced. You shouldn't be talking about that. And so naturally, organic reach is being squeezed. And I've said this to my team members, and they're noticing it as well. It's becoming more increasingly difficult, which is a worry for people. Now, platforms like Facebook and Instagram, they're prioritizing content that keeps users on their sites longer, which means your posts might not be seen by as many people as you'd like, even if they genuinely need what you're offering. But there is a way around it that I've discovered, which I'll share, because
Oh, please.
I like to share. I'm a sharing kind of guy. So look, to overcome this, as an example, number one, focus on video content. Okay. Video. Video is currently one of the most effective ways to capture attention on social media. It's engaging, it's easily digestible. You can use subject lines that draw people in. You can use headlines that draw people in. It's prioritized by the algorithms. It will continue to be shown and will continue to be shared. It will get great reach because it keeps people on the platform longer. A well-crafted video can continue to be shared and viewed repeatedly, amplifying your reach far beyond what a standard post might. But beyond this, beyond social media, it's also crucial to have backup methods, to ensure that your content reaches your audience. So, for example, if you created a great video, right, that's a training video and it's really good, and you really want, let's say, your team to see it, okay, and maybe you want people not in your team to see it because you want them to see, oh, what's going on there? I want to find out a bit more information, right? Now, if you're concerned it might not be seen by everyone on social media, what if you had an epic WhatsApp broadcast list where you can SMS everybody direct, or you've got an epic email list with 30,000 people on where you can create an incredible email on AI with a great hook, driving everybody straight to your video on social media. Essentially, you're using digital tools with no algorithm to drive it to a piece of content that does have an algorithm. If you create a video, let's say you do an epic Zoom, right now, and this is what I'm talking about. Okay, we combine the tools. We do an epic Zoom, okay, and we've got 100 team members on. We take that Zoom, we put it on social media. We then send out a broadcast to our team, an email to our team with a great piece of content, driving them to the social media content, asking them to like it or comment it or put in a hashtag or share it or give their feedback. So you can use other digital tools to drive people to your social media, which essentially is your brand. You can combine WhatsApp, Zoom, live broadcasting, and email. I do it regularly. And that's why my videos get very high viewing.
Wow. That's super cool, man. So he's not relying, just so I'm hearing this. So he's not relying on, okay, I'm doing this Facebook Live. and I'm just waiting for things to accumulate, organically. I mean, sometimes that happens. Depends on what the like subject matter, what's being said, whatever. You know, we can. I think I've been able to bust through the lame algorithm on a number of occasions, but it's 1 out of every 10 lives that I do, and it's just like, and then I always have to analyze and go, what happened there? But you're going to your email list, you're going to these other locations, and you're not driving them to go to the Zoom link, for example. Like okay, we record something on Zoom, you can have the recorded version of that and somebody go click on the replay of your Zoom link. You've gone and put that Zoom, for example, this epic Zoom on Facebook. You're using your email list and go sending them over there. You're using all these other vehicles, these other communication tools, driving them over there, which is increasing the viewership, increasing the likes, increasing the comments, increasing the shares. And
I
I'm just
also,
like,
but I also, sorry, Todd. Sorry, go on.
no, go ahead.
So,
No, go ahead.
but the real magic, you can go one step further. Okay, you can use broadcasting tools that don't have algorithms, like your WhatsApps and your email lists, to drive people to your Zoom. So you can get 100, 200, 300. I think I had 900 on when me and Fraser were doing it. Okay, so I had a Zoom with 900 people on. I took that
Wow.
Zoom and I put it on social media. So, what do you think happens when all my friends on social media see me with 900 people on my Zoom? And then I email my team to say, here's the replay, go to my social media to watch the replay. So, I have 900 people on my Zoom. That goes onto my social media. I re email everybody, which just drives everyone to the social media content post where the video is. So now I've got 900 people on a Zoom, 5,000 people who viewed it. Reach.
Yeah. Man, that's powerful. I hope you guys are paying attention because that is like I'm thinking even I'm not quite utilizing that to the fullest extent on a couple of things that I do because I've got Aweber, I've got Infusionsoft, I've got Zapier, I've got all these different tools. And as he mentioned already, by the way, guys, the things that we're talking about, these are not $1,000 a month tools. Like the combination of the things that we mentioned, like Aweber, Zapier, or whatever, it could be
Few hundred
$50 a
bucks.
month.
Yeah, few
Yeah,
hundred bucks a month. Yeah. And
sure, sure.
with all due respect, this is a professional business. You should be taking some of your commissions and investing it back in, with all due respect.
So let's talk about the word that is used in every success book probably ever written, which is this concept of being consistent. So you read any book on success, somewhere in there is going to say the importance of being consistent with whatever, consistent with working out, consistent with revenue producing activities. What about consistency in terms of your marketing that is so critical?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is crucial for several reasons, Todd. It's one of the pillars of successful marketing. First, it ensures that your brand, it communicates a unified message across all platforms, whether it's social media, email marketing, or your website. When your messaging is consistent, it reinforces your brand's identity and values. It makes it easier for potential clients or team members or whatever to understand what's going on and what action they should be taking. And it also builds trust and recognition over time. Secondly, consistency helps people. It helps meet audiences' expectations. When people see regular, coherent messaging from you across the various channels, it creates a predictable pattern. This predictability is comforting and it builds trust, which is the most important thing that you need from the people you're trying to reach. Your audience need to know what to expect from you, no matter where they encounter your brand. And third, consistency does reinforce your message. Repetition is the key in marketing. The more your audience sees and hears the same key points, the more likely they are to remember and internalize them. I think this is especially important in a crowded marketplace where people are bombarded with information, every day. Every individual, including you and me, Todd, goes through the 4 stages, reach, awareness, reach, awareness, it's the consistency, consideration, and then conversion. Take action. And that whole awareness thing is down to the consistency. Yeah. So, and we all go through those stages. So interestingly, the same tools and techniques that we use to gain the attention of potential prospects can also be applied to engage our existing business and team members as well. Now, the application might differ slightly, but the underlying principles are the same. For instance, and I think your listeners are going to like this because I think it's going to help them. On social media, I coach people to use a combination of 3 types of content: conversion posts. Okay, so these are the posts that address the problems your business opportunity, products or services solve, attracting interest. Value posts, so these kind of entertain or educate your audience, building trust and engagement. And then growth posts. Now, these demonstrate your personal and professional development, showing that you're constantly improving. People like to align themselves with those who are growing. Anyone who goes to my profile, you go and look at my profile, you can pretty much see that every single piece of my content is either a conversion post, a growth post, or a value post. And when my team are watching me do that, they can start to duplicate it quite easily.
Yeah, it's interesting if you pay attention, like, right, in all capital letters, like, pay attention. If you pay attention to other marketers, like, I'm not going to mention the news channel, but there's a news channel that I listen to on Sirius XM pretty frequently, and there is an ad on there that runs probably, if I were to listen to that channel a full day, it probably runs 10 to 12 times a day. That ad has never changed. It's the same exact ad that has been run by this guy for, I mean, I can think at least the last 5 years. And you have to think to yourself, first of all, I'll never forget who this guy is. I know his name is Jason Evans. He's a sales coach. Okay. I actually ended up calling him a few years ago and complimented him on his consistency in advertising. He goes, I don't remember exactly what he said, but like, why fix what's not broken? It's the same exact ad. And if you want to learn to be a better marketer, like, for example, watch David, and if you watch what he does, or any other successful marketer, business person, and you see them doing the same thing over and over again, especially when it comes to larger companies, they don't spend millions or hundreds of millions of dollars on things that don't work. They have ad agencies and metrics. And if you see or hear something repeatedly over and over and over again, you got to know that these guys have invested so much money in it. What can you take out of that? What learnings can you get out of that? Which actually, in my mind, takes me to this next question, which, timing and relevance. Like, when it comes to pushing out content, those seem to be, pretty important factors as well. How does that play into, like, your content strategy in terms of, like, attracting or gathering, the attention of people that you're trying to, hook into your David's world, if you will?
Well, I've always said not everybody is going to need what you have all of the time, but some people will need what you've got some of the time. And that's really the best you can hope for. But you've just got to keep doing that month after month after month after year after year after year. Not everybody is always going to buy from you all of the time just because you think you have the best products out there. Too many people are running their business like a snatch and grab. They're just trying to, send a message. Oh, they didn't become my customer, nightmare. I got to go and try something else. That didn't work. And I think that's one of the reasons why consistency lets people down so much, because if it doesn't work that one time, they try and look for something else that will work, but it doesn't work that way. Some of the time it will work for some of the people, and that's the idea of being consistent. And that actually leads me on to this point of timing, because timing and relevance are key. Because your business, your products, your services might be great, but you could be way down on an individual's priority list. Yeah, like let's say
Yeah.
on a Monday, right? Right down on their priority list. But by Friday, however, circumstances might change that they suddenly need what you have to offer. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
consistency ensures that you're present and ready when they are ready to make the decision. It's not about your content or your marketing not working. It's just at that point you're down on those individuals' priority list, but their situation will change. But you've got to make sure that and that's why timing is everything. Because everybody has a need scale. Every individual has a need scale. There's things that I need right now, but maybe I'm just a level 1, so I can't really be asked doing anything about it. Yeah. But in a few days,
Yeah.
the situation might change. I'm like, shit, I need to freaking get that done. That is like level 10. I need to get on Amazon, get that bought, or I need to subscribe to that thing. And that's how people live. That's life. Everybody has a need scale, and it's the same when it comes to your businesses, your services, and your products. That's why you've got to be consistent, because everybody's need scale is changing all the time. Does that make sense?
Totally. I mean, why someone would want to be utterly consistent is you never know when the person is hungry. Like I heard my kid in the background coughing. He's been sick for the last few days. And a couple nights ago, I'm like, "Hey, can I fix you something?" And he's like, "No, I just ate." So if you think about it from just like a pure layman's term of like just hunger, like if I came up and asked my kid 5 minutes before he ate when he was starving, if I said, "Hey, can I make you something to eat?" He would have been like, "Yeah, yeah, make me a grilled cheese sandwich or whatever." But I asked him if he was hungry, "Do you want anything to eat?" He goes, "No, I just ate." So if I was asking him that same message throughout the week, eventually he's going to be hungry. So we're using it in food terms for a second, but I think that kind of cuts through the clutter. So
I think food is a great example. Think about your grocery store. Do you think they are there sulking and moaning because you haven't been in today to buy your groceries? That goddamn Todd. He's not been in today. He's not made a purchase. He's not bought. No, they're not, because they know that when Todd runs out of food, you'll be going into the shop to get your groceries.
it reminds me of I don't know, I've seen speakers do this before, but it's like the waitress that comes up to you, when you go to a place for breakfast and you're having coffee, and they come over and they got the refills, and you drank a couple cups, and then she comes over and she's, do you want a refill? And I kind of put my hand on the top of the coffee like, "No, I'm good. I've had my fill." She doesn't go cry and run out of the place and like, "Oh my gosh, I was rejected. He doesn't want any more coffee." I don't know whoever made that one up, but that is such a beautiful example of like, kind of changing the subject a little bit, but about, not being emotionally attached to the outcome is so, it's just perfect, man.
But it goes back to our original conversation. If you have good reach consistently, you're always going to be having people drop in.
No doubt. No
But
doubt.
if
And
you
she's
just
walking
decide
around
to do one every so often, here and there, when you kind of feel like it, that's not going to work.
Okay, so I got first of all, I appreciate you spending so much time with me, my audience today. I got one final question. So for the average networker, somebody that's like, they got no budget, they don't have a big following. Like the reality is, I looked this statistic up a couple weeks ago. I think the average Facebook user has like 327 friends.
Okay.
Guys like us, we've got, maximum amount of friends plus, thousands of followers because, this is what we do. We're online, we're in business. But somebody who's got no big following, no ad budget, they're not a big influencer. Like, what advice do you have to have those people be able to go out there and, start getting the attention of individuals that they are connected to?
Okay. I'll give you my best advice, because it's exactly where I started. The key to getting attention is to give people the opportunity to share their thoughts, their feelings, and their opinions. What people want more than anything is a platform where they can be heard. If you want the right kind of attention, ask for opinions rather than giving your opinion when it comes to your online strategy. If you want to sell a product or a service, ask your audience if they have any worries or concerns about a particular issue, instead of overloading them with big, long, information posts that they're likely to scroll past. It keeps it simple and engaging, and you know, it makes it about them. One of the most powerful things that you can do to get somebody's attention in the news feed is to ask them for their opinion, because people love giving it. And if you can angle that towards the problems that your business solves, then happy days. You know, that's how you get somebody's attention. Give them a platform to be heard.
And I think even guys like you and I that are, you know, quote influencers, right? That have a lot of reach, have lots of followers. I still do the same thing. I still ask questions all the time. To me, honestly, like Facebook is like, I mean, it's a different version of Google. Like if I want a recipe for something, or if I have a question, I'll go out and ask that audience, hey, what's your favorite, you know, I'm going to such and such a spot, you know, trying to find some good places to dine. Who's been into Vegas? What's your favorite place to eat? And just something as simple as that, you get all these different responses. And I'm like, hey, brother, I appreciate it. By the way, my wife and I went and had breakfast at Mon Ami Gabi. It's now our favorite breakfast place in all of Las Vegas, which, by the way, it is. Next time you're in Vegas, you're gonna have to go there. Maybe we'll go together.
But even better than the Win for breakfast. I love the Win for breakfast.
Man, I discovered this place years ago, and it's like this French restaurant. It's in the Paris casino, and they make great drinks, and it's just we've literally stayed an extra day every time we go to Vegas now, just so we can have a nice, especially at seminars and events where you're like, you know, flying out right after the event. We'll literally stay one extra day just so we can go to Mon Ami Gabi and have breakfast and spend a day together. So yeah, it's good. It's super fun.
Awesome. Well,
man.
Hopefully we'll get to do a Vegas tour very soon, Todd, my friend.
It's been too long since we've seen each other in person. And again, David, thank you so much for spending time with my audience today. You guys,
you're welcome.
You might be on audio here, you might be on video, but like you need to go back and press rewind and sit down and get your journal out and pay attention to what has been said during this interview, because you laid out some absolute gold for us today. So I appreciate it, man.
More than welcome. Thank you so much. And looking forward to having you on next month with my team. I know they're going to be looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, likewise. Looking forward to it. All right, guys. We'll see you on a future episode. That's a wrap for today. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.